Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight of Rhode Island. I'm your host, Kathy, for today. We also have Susie Fontano co-hosting with me. We have a long-time spiritual person now with us today. She was on the show many years ago. So we finally got her back on the show. Her name is Rita Berkowitz. So she's a spirit artist though, but she's been doing this for so long, she does other stuff as well too. So I would like to mostly talk about the spirit artwork and how she got about that, and then everything else, how it goes there. So we're just going to get started on how Rita got started and all this wonderful, amazing stuff that she does.
Okay, so how did I get started? Are we talking specifically about spirit art?
Oh, everything.
Or the whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Okay, when I was 13, I was given a Ouija board for a birthday present, and I started answering questions my mother knew I should not have the knowledge of. So she got very scared, and being a religious person, she took it and immediately threw it in the trash.
Okay.
Then years later, I bumped into a woman. Neither one of us should have been there where we were. It was at a party. I had double booked. The person who brought me double booked, and she was the secretary of the hostess who was getting a divorce, and so she was taking care of stuff for her. Both of us ended up being at this party. There was a gentleman there who was talking about, he worked for the FBI, but he did paranormal stuff for the FBI. Oh. And so we don't hear about that all that often. And so this other woman came up and said, "Can I listen? Can I be part of this conversation?" And I didn't know him, I didn't know her, so I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
And then she started calling me. She gave me my first deck of tarot cards, at which she gave me the deck. I wrote down all the definitions. I put the definitions under my chair, and I just started reading. So I had an unusual thing, and then she said, "I want to take a psychic development class with you." And when she said that to me, I said, "I don't have money for that. I have two girls that were teenagers at the time. We were saving up for college and blah, blah, blah." And so she said, "I'll take one of your paintings and I'll pay for your course." So I said, "Okay." So she took the painting. We went to take the course together. At the course, the teacher said one day, "We're going to see if we can see spirit." And so you really need an infrared camera to see spirit, and all she had was a flash camera. So the images went away, and I said, if I can see them, I can draw them, because I'm a professional artist.
Yeah.
And so I started to draw them, and people started to recognize them. I then went to the Swampscott Church of Spiritualism, and there was a wonderful woman, Barbara Farewell. She was one of the mediums at the church. And she kept coming around behind me saying, "You're going to be a spirit artist reader." And I said, "Barbara, leave me alone. It's not what I want to do with my life." She said, "No, you're going to be a spirit artist reader." And I said, nope, not going to happen. And so finally, to, shall we say, alleviate her pestering, I said, "Okay, I'll agree to try it." And so I did 3 drawings that night. One was a Native American spirit guide, which for me is no big whoop because it doesn't prove continuity of life. The second one was a middle-aged man, and the third was an adolescent boy. And when I drew the adolescent boy, a man took out his wallet, took out the photograph, laid it next to the drawing, said, "You just drew my son, I can't thank you enough." His son had passed in a car accident. And then I looked over at the person I drew the middle-aged man for, and she's sitting there with tears coming down her face, saying, "This is my father. I can't thank you enough." I was scared to death, because I knew my life was never going to be the same. I had an art studio in the South End. I was very happy being an artist and, living the artist's life, you know, and all of a sudden my life was going to be very different. So from being an artist in the South End in Boston, I then became a minister. So, quite
big
the change.
Yes.
Big change, big change. But when Spirit has something in mind for you to do, they will do it.
And
they will make sure it happens.
Yeah, they're going to bug you until.
Until you're done.
Yes.
Literally till you, because they don't let you retire. We were talking about that before. That's out of the question.
Yeah.
When you think,
they keep busy too.
Yeah, no, because they don't.
Yep.
So how long did that take, though, from that conversation of that party? We're not supposed to be there too until you became a minister. How long did that span was that?
I started to go to the Swampscott Church in '84. I then started to study, because you don't just become a minister, you had to take courses back then. No $25 on the,
Oh, no.
you know, on the internet.
Yeah, on the internet, yeah.
And so I took the courses. I was teaching art. You know, I was very happy doing my life, but I decided to take the courses because I became very involved with the Spiritualist Church. And then from there, it was '94, I moved to the Quincy Church, which I became pastor of. And then in '97, I was ordained.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's about almost 15 years. But
almost,
not quite.
yeah, not quite, but close.
Yeah, so that's quite the change, though, huh?
Quite the change of life, yes.
So did you go to college to become an artist? Is that how that part
I went to
came
the
up?
High School of Art and Design in Manhattan, and then I went to Pratt Institute in
Okay.
Brooklyn. And so, yes, so I did study fine art,
Yeah.
you know, quite a bit. And actually more commercial art. And then, you know, so sketching something was
Second
very
nature, yeah.
second nature. But I always say that, you know, because all things are in divine order, which I believe so strongly, we used to have to do 30-second sketches from the model when I was in art school.
Okay.
Just to learn to get that movement, learn to get that gesture in. So once you learn to draw quickly, because when I'm on the platform
Oh, exactly.
doing this work, I can't
Go,
okay, I think, you know, and it feels very much like, if you would imagine automatic drawing.
Automatic writing,
So like automatic writing is, but with drawing.
Okay.
So that's how it happens.
Yeah. So it's not something you think about anymore. You just do it.
Just do it. Just
Yeah.
A lot of times they will show themselves to me early, which I think is always very funny.
As you're driving in the car.
As I'm driving in the car, as I'm driving, spiritual hitchhikers. So as I'm driving in the car, or sometimes even, there was one time where 6 weeks before, I started to see this woman, and okay, so which demonstration are you going to? What church service are you going to? I don't know who you are. If you're coming in, come in at the time when I will need you to come in.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she kept, you know, badgering. And so I was doing a demonstration one night and got up to the easel, and boom, there she was again. So I said, okay, sketched her, because you have to trust what you're getting. Sketched her. Looked out to the audience. I said, who does this lovely lady belong to? One woman raised her hand, said, that's my aunt. I said,
Please take
well,
her.
she's been bothering me for the last 6 weeks. And she said 6 weeks ago is when she bought her ticket. So from the time she bought her ticket, her aunt wanted to make sure that I was going to be drawing her.
Fascinating, isn't it?
It's so fascinating to me. It thrills me. It's fascinating, yes.
I have a story, though, for Rita. When I first met her, so she was doing a spirit drawing, and then she says, oh, I have this older woman, and she's drawing her, and I was like thinking, oh, that looks like my grandmother. I'm not sure, but no, I think it's my dad's mom. She makes the best galumpies. And you would taste, you could taste.
I taste. Claire Gustins, it's called.
It was like amazing. Everybody's like, oh my gosh. And then when I compared the pictures with my aunt at the time, I'm like, look, it's your mom. You know, it's amazing.
It still fascinates me. I remember one time I did, and this was at the very, very beginning. I did a spirit drawing of a woman, gave it to the recipient. It was at a medium's day at a church. And there were 2 little diaper pins. And they were right over here. And I said, and I put them on. And so the young woman, to make her family a little crazy, brought it to Christmas dinner, held it up at the table, and said, does anybody recognize this lady? And they all went, ah! And the person whose house they were at had the apron pins because it was that old.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay,
had the
yes.
apron pins that they used to pin the top of the bib of the apron.
Yeah.
They didn't have the neck piece, so they would pin the apron to their garment so it wouldn't come down, and the apron pins were in the drawing.
Wow.
I've had experiences where clothes that match the exact, you know,
What they were
Exactly.
wearing.
what they were wearing, or
Yes, yes.
the person had a photograph of them wearing. And these are sometimes people that I did readings for over the phone.
Yes.
And so, you know, over the phone, I'm not seeing them. I don't see
Exactly,
what they look
yes.
like, you know.
Like a resemblance or
the
anything.
resemblance,
Yes.
you know, I have no
Yes.
idea what they look like. And it's incredible to me. There was one time I drew a young man, and you know, I was thrilled enough that I drew the young man. So a year later, the mother calls me again. A year later, I don't remember names.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
it's just too much for me to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a year later, she calls me up and she goes, you know, she wanted a life reading, which is what I do with the tarot. And so I did the life reading for her. And then, you know, she said, is there anything else you could tell me? Can you talk to me about Danny? And I said, Danny. She said, you drew him for me. Danny, you know, so it was a year before. So, and then it recalled, and I said, you know, I don't know why he's showing this to me, but he's coming out of the river, and he's shaking himself off like a duck. And she got hysterical, laughing and crying, and she said to me, I said, if you're really here, get Rita to say the word duck. You remember like on Groucho Marx when the duck used to come down and say the magic word? The magic word was duck.
Yep.
So she said, and I said it, you know, and it's like, so when spirit comes in and they give you these absolutely incredible pieces of information
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
you know, you're saying to somebody, and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, this is coming out of my mouth. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Exactly.
And then you're giving that information, and that information is so beautiful and so correct, and they're understanding it so intensely, you know, and now, you know, I've done demonstrations recently, and it was the last drawing of the demonstration that I do with two other women, and at the end when we do it, we link into each other's link.
Oh, okay.
So I may start with the sketch, or they may start with the description,
Oh, that's awesome.
and so we'll go back and forth. And it's an exercise that I teach, but that's what we were doing. And so I'm drawing, and I kept hearing, he had the most incredible silver hair. And, you know, and I said, he was quite a fox. And the woman picks up her bag, takes out an 8x10, holds it up for the audience to see, and said, there's my silver fox. And so even the nickname was what he needed to hear. So it still fascinates me, it still amazes me, I'm still thrilled by it. So yes.
Yeah, it's amazing work though, right?
It is amazing work.
Yes.
It is amazing work.
Yep.
You know, to prove that life is continuous, to prove that we don't die, to prove, I did a lot of work with people in Boston during the AIDS epidemic. And those guys still come to my classes. I mean, they're there, but they still come to my classes and make themselves known through my students, not through me, because I wouldn't bring them in. I know that. But my students will bring them in, and that again thrills me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, bodies die, but the souls definitely don't.
Yeah, no, who we are, you know, the spirit is the animating, energizing force, the personality of who we are. And for me to feel those personalities, to feel that the energy of who you are, to feel the what you got excitement about.
Exactly.
You know? And you were talking about me tasting the glunkies. My favorite thing is, because I do have clairgustance, which is being able to taste. I can tell the difference whether they're like dark chocolate, milk chocolate, or white chocolate, because they feel different in your mouth. And that's how I experience it. So
interesting.
Again, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Now, have you always had the clairgustance?
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, I honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. I know that when I started doing readings, and I started tasting things, you know, there was a gentleman, thickest Irish brogue you can imagine. came to my office with his wife, and I drew his grandmother, and I'm tasting sauerkraut, and this guy's got an Irish brogue, and I'm saying, and I'm tasting sauerkraut.
Yeah, it's like,
okay. In America, we have a tendency to think that during World War II, everybody that left Europe to escape the war came to the United States. They did not. They went to other countries also.
Yeah.
His family settled in Ireland.
Okay.
So his German grandmother,
Okay.
Oh,
and he
okay.
was called the Kraut by all of his friends.
Oh.
And so
Sauerkraut.
sauerkraut, so I
Yep.
was tasting sauerkraut. His grandmother made sauerkraut.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So now, when you're teaching class, so you're still teaching.
I'm still
You're
teaching,
still
yes.
offering classes. Where are you offering classes?
Women of Wisdom.
Oh, still okay.
Yep.
Yep. I think that's where I took my classes with
Oh,
you.
wow. Okay.
Yes. 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 So now, are you teaching like an artist? Also, are you teaching like the drawing, or no, or just
I
letting
teach that as one
mediumship?
class, but
Oh,
we call
okay.
it spirit art with no talent required. Because,
Right up my alley.
well, because
Yeah.
when you say you're going to be drawing people of deceased,
Yeah.
drawings of deceased people, people have run. I mean,
Yeah. It's like, what?
well-known
No,
mediums whose names shall not be mentioned right now
Yeah.
have said to me, I want to do that, and then say no.
I'm scared to death.
I'm
No,
scared
yeah,
to death. And so, Joe Shield, who's a wonderful spirit
Yes.
artist, Janet Nahavik sent him to me to give him some pointers, and he
Yep.
is doing fabulously. So, and
Wonderful.
we've demonstrated together a few
Yep.
times. So
Nice,
it's
nice.
always a joy to see Joe and to see how beautifully he took this.
Wow.
work. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Now, he was a former student of yours?
He was. He's got an interesting story. He was studying for the seminary to be a Catholic priest,
Okay.
as Janet Nahavik was studying to be a nun, and and they went in different directions.
Yeah.
But Joe, Janet said, "I've got this friend. He's got talent." She pushed him
Yeah.
to become a spirit artist.
It's funny, sounds like a familiar story, but
Yeah.
So she pushed him. So she sent him to me. I basically gave him some pointers on the face and how to draw the face and what you're looking for. And so, and I said, and then let your hand go. And he does.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. And he's doing the work. So he's a very good spirit artist.
I guess he's no longer a Catholic priest.
He's a spiritualist minister, and he's running the Journey Within in New Jersey. So that's where he is now. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. It's always interesting how our life really takes us when we think we got something
Exactly.
going on.
Boy,
Yeah, it's
does
like,
it ever.
here's this
was
path.
not my plan.
Yep. Yeah.
Now when we think something's going to happen a certain way.
Yeah, we think it's going to happen a certain way. I was, in the South End in Boston. I was very happy being an artist. I was very happy with the big artist parties that happened
Yep.
during the 80s, if
Oh,
you can
wow.
think back
Yep.
to that
Yeah.
time. And then all of a sudden, I'm becoming a minister. Like how did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
But
you look back,
Spirit
yeah.
Spirit had a way that they wanted me to go, and one of the things that a friend of mine, who was a wonderful psychic that I met during the late 80s, she said to me, if they had told me when I was a young woman that I was going to spend my days drawing dead people, they probably would have run for the hills and would have said, forget it, I'm not doing this, and it's not going to happen,
Yeah.
and so on. But it all fell into place as it should.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always interesting how you look back. It's like, okay, that's not what
This
what
is
it
not
is.
what I had in mind.
Yeah. It's just so interesting.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you, though, if they have any questions, how can they get a hold of you?
My telephone number, 781-424-0556, or am I allowed to give my website?
No, just
Okay.
email.
Email. Thank you. So my email address is
Just
spiritrita, spiritrita@gmail.com. Thank you. I've got too many things in mind. Spiritrita@gmail.com.
which one is it?
Which one is it? Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So you've given a lot of examples, so it's hard to word this the right way. So, do you still get, even now, do you still get a lot of repeat sitters though for readings or the artwork though?
The spirit art I'm only doing in demonstrations now.
Okay.
Whereas I used to be doing, that was my day job.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be retired, as I've said a good number of times. So I spend my days doing painting.
Okay.
And I will see a couple of people, a few people a month.
Okay.
And then I do demonstrations and I do the church services.
Okay.
So that's what I do. So if somebody wants to see me privately, they would get a life reading.
Okay.
But I'm not doing drawings individually. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to do it. And so you have to realize as we mature, the energy level is not quite as intense as it was when I was in my 40s as it is now.
Yeah. Yes, geez, I'm tired now.
Wait.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, it's going to be interesting.
Oh my gosh, okay. Yeah, so it's still busy, just not as busy
I'm
as you
still
were.
busy. I'm just busy doing different things. Again, you're not allowed to retire if you have gifts.
Exactly.
Look, if whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it the universe, whether you want to call it spirit, if you have been given gifts, if you have been given talents to use, let me share a story with you. I had a student when I was teaching in the School of Fashion Design, and we are talking like maybe 1980. And the woman had an uncle who was a Pentecostal minister, and she brought me to see him. And so, that didn't go badly. I thought it didn't go badly.
Good.
And so, he said, "You've got a question for me." I said, "Well, yeah, but," he said, "Why are you here?" I said, "Well, your niece brought me." And then he said, No, you have a question for me. Why are you here?" And I said, "I seem to know things a lot." And he took the Bible, one of those big Bibles on a Pentecostal minister's desk, flipped it open, points to a reading and says, "If God has given you the gift of knowledge, it would be a sin not to use it."
I like that.
And I said, whoa, that's what I needed to hear, because I was knowing these things. And, I had one of my painting buddies was a fundamentalist Christian. She wasn't overly happy with the things that I was doing. Yet, when she was in trouble one time, who did she call?
Oh, there you go.
Ghostbusters.
It's funny how that works, right?
So, we're given these gifts, we're supposed to use them.
Exactly. And you bring so much healing and peace to people.
That's the purpose of it.
Yes.
That's the purpose of
That's it.
That
And it's not to, yes.
That healing, when I see, and more with fathers even than mothers, if a father has lost a child, and they would come into my office with their head down and slumped over and crying, and they leave standing straight with a semi-smile on their face.
Yes, with that peace.
The purpose, and they felt some peace from it.
Yes.
That's the purpose.
Exactly.
And my husband, who I love to talk about, who I say was an atheist, he still claims he is. He's seen too much. But, to see, he would say, "I know you're helping people. I know you're helping people."
Yeah.
He said, "I don't know how you do it. I don't know why you do it, but I know you're doing it. So it's okay."
And it sounds like my husband too. I don't know what you're doing. And I'm
I
like,
don't
all right,
understand
just
that.
trust.
So,
you don't have to.
When I first started doing this work, I was interviewed by some women who were writing a book of the best psychic mediums in the Boston area.
Okay.
They had heard about me, And so when they heard about me, one of the things they asked me a few questions. And one of the things that they talked about was that everybody that they interviewed had at least 3 out of the 4 of these things. One is being dyslexic or ambidextrous. One is being dyslexic. One is being left-handed or ambidextrous. One is being a child where we say some difficulties went on in the household.
Okay.
And the last is to either have had a near-death experience or a miraculous healing. So my mom one day asked me, "I don't understand what you do. I just want to know how you do it." And so I told her these 4 things. She said, "Well, you're 4 for 4." And I didn't talk about abuse going on in the household, but you're 4 for 4. And so the 2 women, when they had interviewed me, said, that every one of the people that they interviewed had at least 3 out of the 4.
Wow.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to be able to dissociate, if you've gone through difficult times,
Yeah.
the ability to dissociate also allows you to go into other planes. And
Yeah.
that's
Never
why
thought of it that
those
way.
two
Yeah.
come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely 2 of the 4 because I'm left-handed and I do dissociate. So I'm like, okay. So, yeah.
So you had good parents.
Yeah, well, they were decent, but yeah.
So I also know of one book you wrote. I'm not sure, have you written other books?
I wrote 2 books.
You wrote 2
I wrote
books.
2 books. I wrote The Complete Idiot's Guide to Communicating with Spirits.
That's the one I know of.
And that's still in print.
It is.
It is. It's now, it doesn't have Idiot's Guide in front of it.
I know.
anymore
I
in the
know.
edition.
It's really kindness.
But then the other one is Empowering Your Life with Angels. And that you may be able
okay.
to get a used copy of.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not in circulation anymore.
I don't think it's in print anymore, but I think you can. I think if you go on Amazon, you can get a used copy of it.
Nice. Nice.
Interesting.
And then you have your oil paintings.
And then I do my oil paintings and my pastel paintings.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
And award-winning also, may I say
Yes,
that?
I have to.
When you have the
you know,
studio showings and everything,
I
yes.
have, I'm very, this past year I won 5 awards, so I'm
Yes.
very
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah.
And may it continue.
Yes.
But it's been very exciting to do that, and I have found that the group of people, and again, all things being in divine order, the group of people that I came in to paint with,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know what I was signing up for,
Yeah.
were 12 spiritual women. And
Yeah.
so I said, okay, that's it.
It's meant to be.
It's meant to be.
Yeah.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. Because it's funny because when you post, you know, what shall we call it?
Yes.
And I'm thinking people are answering right away, and I'm like, but I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be tough. Like it's
Well,
amazing, you know, to see the feedback as everybody's looking at them going, this would be the person. Okay, all right, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
And the spiritual community has said, thank you for keeping us part of your
Exactly,
other life. So they
exactly.
seem to be very
Yes.
happy about the fact
Yes.
that both were
Yes.
together.
Yes, exactly. Yep, gorgeous, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yep, yeah.
So, do you have any other family members that do what you do too? Or is it you're the only one?
My daughter is now big. She's going to be 50 next week. But my daughter now is becoming very interested in healing, which is why I started. I was not interested in mediumship. I was interested in healing. Very interested in healing, very interested in nutrition. So she's now reshaping her life, but she is the only other person. I come from a very Orthodox Jewish family, and they have agreed to tell me, except for one cousin, what you're doing is not right. So I said, that's okay, as long as I'm helping people and
Exactly.
I know
Yes.
where my information is coming from. It's coming from a good place.
Exactly.
I'm cool.
That's
Yep.
what matters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what matters. Yeah, absolutely. Can you just give your phone number and email again?
Okay.
In case someone's asking.
Absolutely. 781-424-0556. And my email address is spiritrita@gmail.com.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, I know you're keeping busy with church, you
Yes.
know, and doing readings at a less intense level than you were before.
Yeah.
And I know Spirit is very good at keeping us going with this work,
Oh, yes, they do.
so you don't see yourself stopping like at all.
You know, if I felt at any point that what I was giving was not purposeful, I would stop.
Okay.
But as long as I know that I'm serving, as long as I know that I'm helping people, as long as I know that Spirit wants me to do this,
Yeah.
again, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. There's nothing healing than communicating with someone that's passed on
Exactly.
that we miss.
Yep.
Grieving is very difficult.
Yes, it's a
Very
very
difficult.
heavy emotion.
Yep.
Very heavy
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah. So it's just nice that you can help in this regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've been teaching others of the same thing.
Yeah.
Too.
And so I feel like if I'm teaching people, then maybe someday I could rest in peace.
Yeah.
Maybe one day soon. You can just
Either
rest
that or I'm
easy.
going to be a spirit guide. You know?
Yep.
I think you got to become a spirit guide.
I think so, too.
I think so. Yeah,
Exactly.
because once our bodies go, though, we're still not done.
No.
So as much
No.
as that works, though. So.
No.
Absolutely.
Do you
True,
still
true.
do any artwork though, just because, like the spirit artwork, just because, like for you, like do you have spirit art, like you know how some people come to, I'm not asking this the right way, but well, people come to you though for spirit art, though, do you have